Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been on a tear early this NBA season, averaging 31 points per game, all without relying on the three-point shot. His paint dominance has been remarkable, ranking 5th in the NBA in points in the paint this season, only behind physical forces like Giannis and Zion, and dominating post-up players like AD and Jokic. SGA is leading the NBA in drives per game, dominating teams with clever footwork, a deep bag of tricks, and his ability to control his speed. One of the things that stood out to me when breaking down this film was SGA's preference of driving to his left. 54% of his drives this season have been going to his left hand. And that's something that I noticed was even more prevalent on the wings. On the right side in particular, he would always drive to his left about 65% of the time. Getting to his left hand also throws off the defense because, as a right-handed player, in the back of their minds, they're probably thinking force him to his left. That's what, in general, most right-handed players don't want to go to, is their left hand. But Shai clearly prefers driving to his left, similar to Ja Morant, so the scouting report has to change, what makes it even harder for NBA players, especially in transition. An incredible feel for the game allows SGA to use angles that other players don't, oftentimes creating space where the defender doesn't even realize he's being cut off. This ability to slow down, use slower finishes, throws off the timing of the defense for easier scoring chances. Combining this with a hesitation move to freeze a defense, he not only creates easier options for himself with his preference for patience, but will also gain the benefit of the whistle while being under control on all of these drives. Decelerating has been one way he uses this change of pace and use of angles as he weaves into space on the attack and scores on balance. This is a ridiculous finish in the transition against the Clippers, going full speed, then landing on his right foot and then finishing with his left hand. Incredible. This Euro step move is a common go-to move when he is in the lane, using his long frame and shifty moves to create better finishing angles around the defense. Shai has been one of the better paint finishers because of his ability to land on 2 feet and on balance to finish through contact, especially against bigger players and driving downhill using the momentum against them. He'll be able to stop, turn on the brakes, and be able to finish with his 6'6" frame. These 2-foot finishes are also very effective when he's trying to draw fouls and cut off the angle, as you see he drive here against Dwight Powell, land on 2 feet, cut off the angle, and jump back into contact. Another example here is he rejects the ball screen, drives to the rim. Notice how as he lands on 2 here, it throws out the defender's timing, gets him in the air, and then finishes through contact. A great way to beat any defense is to reject or drive away from the ball screen. This is something that SGA is currently one of the best in the NBA at, nearly rejecting 25% of all ball screens used. One way they set up Shai to get him downhill is using these flat ball screens with guards, allowing him to go either right or left, flipping the angle of the ball screen so he can reject the ball screen faster. Here the ball screen's flipped to SGA's left, so when he drives right, this lane is wide open. Another advantage of these ball screens is that Oklahoma City Thunder's 5-out system will always keep a big space on the perimeter and not in rim protection on defense. Here, Brook Lopez is guarding the corner, and that means Javon Carter is now the low man in help, a much weaker rim protector. They also use bigs to screen this scenario, so when SGA rejects a screen and gets downhill, the big is now out of position, the drive becomes much cleaner and much easier. When an empty ball screen is set, meaning no player is occupying the ball side corner, these rejects are even more devastating with little or no help behind. The true beauty of Shai's game comes into his use of the pump fake and his ability to sell the defense on a shot, then finish over the top or allow them to fly by and finish with little or no contest. Because his pump fake is so lethal, his ability to draw fouls and set up players is absolutely incredible. It is so hard to tell the difference between an actual shot he's looking to shoot or a pump fake, and this is why so many players fall for this. A fantastic way he sells this is throwing his head back and selling the head fake with the shot fake, both at the same time getting players to jump in the air. Here, as he drives, Robinson falls for a fake when the ball's in a non-shooting position, then on the pivot falls for another pump fake and fouls. SGA is drawing fouls at a ridiculous 18% on shot attempts, ranking first in the NBA relative to his position. Not only is he one of the best at drawing fouls, he's currently leading the NBA in shooting from the free throw line at 93%, a huge improvement considering he came into this season as an 80% career free throw shooter. This shocked me so much I went back and studied his free throws from last season and this season to see if there's any change in his routine, and it is exactly the same as last season. So it's pretty interesting, the massive improvement with what seems like no real big changes to his free throws. A great counter that SGA uses with his pump fake is a step through after it. Watch here as he sells with his eyes and his head to get Grant Williams to contest, then stepping through to create an open angle for the finish. Moving laterally on these attacks in the paint allow him to sell these shots and this escape to create space for his step through move. Combined with his ability to control his speed, this allows him to maintain balance and finish these chances under control. Like any great point guard, anytime SGA feels any contact, he immediately throws his head up to sell the call to the ref. A good example of this here with Grayson Allen defending him. Allen doesn't really launch or even make too much contact, but as soon as Shai feels anything on this drive, he throws his head back and sells the contact to draw the foul. Another trick that he uses is the rip through move on a defender's arm. Not like Harden when he pioneered this. SGA just takes his arm and goes through the defender in an upward fashion and not lock down on the defender's arm. Not only does this force the defense to leave space by trying to avoid the foul, but there's another way he gets to the free throw line. Here, Sims leaves his arm straight out, so when SGA rejects his ball screen, he rips his arm up and then draws the foul. Here he combines both the rip up through and the throwing of the head to draw the foul against the Wizards. And even if you're in good position, he can still draw a foul by ripping up through on the way up and almost changing his shot angle. Here Levine does a good job of staying straight up, but SGA goes behind his arm and up through it, drawing the contact and the foul and basically tricking the referee. All this culminates with his best weapon, the paint pull-up. SGA has decreased his attempts from 3 this season and increased his attempts at the rim and mid-range. These short mid-range pull-ups have been great for him, where he's shooting 33% of his shots from, and knocking down 50% of them, both ranking in the 92nd and 85th percentile respectively. Simply put, he loves shooting these short pull-ups in the paint and is very good at making them. He loves to create space on these drives in the lane by leaving his front foot out to create a little more space and then coming back for a pull-up. This is great against better defensive players who do a great job of staying front on his drives. When his drives are cut off, he also relies on a back down move or turning his back to the defender in the paint, almost like a post-up, using this against even bigger defenders. And his ability to control pace and speed in the lane allows him to create space with that lead leg, dip his shoulder, and then hit step back pull-ups with ease. If the back down is unavailable or the defense cuts off a drive early, SGA will spin off it and probe in the other direction. Downhill here against Brown, he spins and then uses the same rip arm up through move to draw the foul on the rookie. And this is especially effective against bigger defenders who are typically slower and he can spin off and hit the shot. Of course, he will go to the step back pull up, although he doesn't create as much space as other players. We talked about him leaving his lead leg out there, and then stepping back and creating just a little bit of space. And that's all he needs with his 6'6" frame. He obviously loves to drive left on this move as well, trying to get back in that direction. Even if he drives to the right in a ball screen scenario here, he'll try to snake back to his left and then escape for the pull-up. SGA is only attempting 13% of his shots from 3, but when he does prefer to use the same move as a step back pull-up. Jab into his defender, get the defense moving backward, step back, and allow him to take easier shots. You see a jab here, gets the defense moving slightly backwards, creates enough space for the step back 3. At the end of games, the Thunder like to have him set a back screen and then ISO. So you see here the back screen here, gets a switch, then catch an ISO, allowing him to hit 2 of these step back 3s at the end of the game against the Wizards and the Bucks. And in the most recent game against the Trailblazers, Shai sets the back screen here against Winslow. The switch is on the high side, so Shai flashes towards the ball side almost in the post, hits a turnaround jumper for the game winner. And the final thing, and perhaps the biggest change that I've really enjoyed from SGA, he's looking to post up more, in particular off of dribble post-ups, or what I call Barkley. Last season, he had 17 post-up possessions. So far this season, he's logged 38. Now, his favorite move out of these post-ups is a turnaround pull-up away from the defense. Of course, this wouldn't be a complete breakdown without showing his counter to this, a turnaround step back with a pump fake into a step-through finish. Simply fantastic stuff from SGA. Thank you so much for watching this breakdown. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing to the channel or supporting it through Substack.